Was there homework? No? To be courageous? No? To see something through? No? I didn't give you all homework? Oh. But we spoke about resilience and courage and fearlessness last class, right? As the two wheels of the chariot. So it used to be a two-wheel chariot. And I also mentioned patience. Did I mention patience? So the translation, so Rajadi Rajatahi Ratapataka is also interpreted as patience, because we have courage and we forge ahead to do things in life. And then, especially now in today's world, more and more and more, it's like, then we think, but I didn't get any results. Like, I did this, like they told me to do this, and then, so I did it, and then where's my results? And so this quality of patience is super, super, super important, in the sense that when we are persistent and consistent and resilient and we keep going, then that patience is what makes sure we don't give up. Otherwise we think, oh, it didn't work, and we give up. And so the patience is to know that result is coming. It's not that you've been denied that thing that you were seeking, and it's not that it didn't work. And then also sometimes it's, we're looking for a particular result, but we are getting a result, and it's not the result we were expecting to get. And so we think it didn't work. Can you all think of an example? Because I'm trying to think of an example for this. I know when we do I love you letters and we say give love and you'll get love, and then some people will get fixated on getting love from one particular person, and so they're giving and they don't realize that like all their relationships have improved, or maybe they have more friends, or maybe they have happier moments in the day, and they're like, but he still doesn't love me back, or she still doesn't love me back. And not even in necessarily a romantic sense. It could be a parent-child relationship, or it could be that you're working on a particular business prospect, and the person that you have to work with is a bit tiring, and you're so busy giving love so that you could make this thing work, and then it didn't work. And then, but it's because you're looking at the result from only that one point of view. And you're not seeing that actually it's working. It's just not the result that you want. So patience. But in this example, it also requires open-mindedness for us to be able to see that there are results coming in ways that we may not have thought predictable, or that we had not set as a goal. Okay, so the next line is Satya. So Sauraja Dhiraja Tahirata Chaka, the Satya Shila Drida Twaja Pataka. And so it goes from the wheels, which is the lowest point in the chariot, to the highest point in the chariot, and then it covers everything in the middle. And so the highest point in the chariot, and this is an olden day chariot, which hopefully you all have all seen pictures of. The Bhagavad Gita is your perfect example of the chariot that they are describing here, where you see those two big wheels, and then the chariot would have a pole with a flag. The flag was representative of who you are. And I think even till today, I guess it's like a logo in today's world, that we wear the logos, or I think more today in sports also, where the number represents that particular athlete, especially like in cricket and soccer, and that number becomes like synonymous with that player. So the flag is similar to that. It's a symbol of the person whose chariot it is. And the flag had a big triangle and then a small one. And so it was done aesthetic. The big triangle was the one with the logo. And then the small one is because it flaps easier. So that flapping became more aesthetic, right? So that you can have that visual. No, really, that's the reason. And when you hear the symbolism of it, you'll understand why the reason. So the big flag is Satya, and the small one is Sushil or Shitala. And so Sheila is so Satya, of course, we know, speak truth, or not even speak, it's truth. But in terms of me doing and acting, and this is my chariot, and so what I have to not only speak truth, actually live truth. So we're going to come back to Satya. And then that small Sheila is sweetness. And so it's speech having the quality of sweetness. Yeah. So Swarupanandaji, who was posted here in Hong Kong when he was a brahmachari, and most people still remember him as when he taught the Balvihar kids here. Of course, now those Balvihar kids are like grandparents, but his name was Sushil. And the quality is this. This is the quality of his name. And actually, Swamiji has really imbibed it. And even the other day, I was talking to him and I'm like, Swamiji, I've been postponing this job for so long now, I think you need to scold me. And he laughed and he said, I've never scolded you. And I thought, well, that's not exactly true. But he's never raised his voice. He might look very sternly at you. That's his scolding. Never, never, never. You'll never have heard Swamiji raise his voice. Even when people have really badly behaved, I bulldoze in and I yell and scream, but he won't. And if I'm not there, he's still nobody else will. He'll just either be quiet or he'll say what he has to say very succinctly, but softly and sweetly. Maybe Gurudev already saw it as his quality and made him that, or maybe it was since Gurudev named it to him, he embodied it. But as a child, apparently it was the earlier. Already he was just never loud, just never scream. Which, you know, for me is like so foreign because when I scream, like at the drop of a hat, I will scream. Whether it be excitement or anger. So let's do both. So what's the point is, Sheila is what adds beauty to speech of Satya. So Satya is the main quality because it's the big flag. But the small one is lending beauty to the big one. So we speak Sat, or we live Sat, do Sat. Right? There's going to be levels of it, which we're going to go into now. But whatever Sat you are doing and speaking has to have Sheila. Then it's chariot of success. Otherwise, you know, we can be very honest and very blunt and hurtful, or not necessarily even hurtful. Of course, we can be hurtful, but also it can be that, you know, I'll say the truth. And it's not something hurtful. Maybe I'm talking about a political thing, or I'm talking about this vitamin is better than that vitamin, or I'm talking, so something just very factual, right? I'm not saying you are late and irresponsible and careless and a good for nothing, which can't be true, but you are late and irresponsible might be true in a certain situation. And so that's hurtful. It's not even like I'm saying something about your character, which is hurtful. I'm saying this vitamin is better than this vitamin. But it can be said in a way and nobody wants to listen. And just a fact, like, don't eat whatever, citrus on an empty stomach. But anyway, don't tell me what to do. And then somebody else says, it's not as good for you to have something acidic when you're hungry. You think, oh yeah, you're right. Like, it's not even like this saying, like the Shilata isn't just like, don't be insulting. Even we can be saying something totally factual and it doesn't get received well. Because Shilata is not there. And then we had to do a site visit today. No, today was Black Rainstorm. So yesterday. And so we met this, who are those people that like not managers, but they run like the concierge kind of people. So charming. Oh, so charming. And then, so, we're negotiating, we're planning, this will be there, yes, this time to this time, yes, books, yes, water, this, and then we're getting to the left and we're like, well, we know why he got his job. Like, so charming. Because a certain way of speaking will close the deal, will keep customers coming back, will engage somebody, will tempt somebody, that's not Shilata. But the quality of Shilata is having that appeal without the motive. Right? So this person who's closing a deal is so charming because he's closing the deal. So there's motive. But to be as equally amiable without having any motive. And amiable is a different word to charming. So Shilata is more the sense of melting possible barriers, which Satyam can bring up because not everybody wants to deal with the truth. We all live in our nice little bubbles, blissfully ignorant. It's not bliss to be ignorant, but that's how we feel. No, I just me and my bubble. And then somebody comes in and says something, and then it's, oh. And it can be ruffle feathers, but it can also just be confrontational for me to have to deal with truth. So I'll give an example. Everyone's going to die. This is no news to anyone. Everybody already knew this. Can be so confrontational. I'm speaking truth. I'm saying something you already knew. And yet it can be so confrontational. And so Shilata is that quality of, instead of delivering it in a way that's going to become setting up more resistance, saying it in a way that makes it the barrier not come up. So even if you are startled by what is said, it isn't with you can see that the intent is not to hurt. Okay, so Shilata is this incredibly beautiful quality, but first we should do Satyam. And when I was reflecting on this today, I thought, we do this in Bal Vihar so often, and then I hardly ever do it in adult classes. And then I thought, but most adults haven't been to Bal Vihar. And actually, even the kids who have been to Bal Vihar by now would have forgotten. So why don't I do more on Satyam? Okay, so what do y'all already know so that I'm not repeating? Because there are plenty Bal Vihar kids here. Truthfulness. Anything else? They are. Thank you for remembering. We did it in Ramayana. Still nothing? Okay, now I'm going to start talking and you're going to be like, oh. Okay, so definition of truth. Interesting. As per Oxford Dictionary, which now you do on Google instead of actually opening a book, is factual happening. So nice to know. What's truth? The truth? Factual happening. Today was black rainstorm. Factual happening. Today was a nice day. Not true. What's today was a nice day? Opinion, perspective. Not true. But today we had black rainstorm warning in Hong Kong. True. Factual happening. Yeah. It's cold. Yeah, not true.
What if it's -3?
Truth is, it's -3. Although we would accept it's cold if it's -3 as a truth. But I don't know if a polar bear would say that. I mean, you know, but you're getting my point, right? It's cold is a subjective opinion. The actual temperature is factual happening, truth. I felt cold. Truth. Yeah, so this is where truth has layers. So there's absolute truth, and then there's relative truth. And so it's relative truth. I felt cold is you telling me telling you how I felt, which of course is true. We hope. I could also tell you what I felt, which is not the truth. But let's say I actually did feel cold, then I say I felt cold, then that's the truth. Whereas in the relative sense, even if I say, no, I was fine when I was freezing, it's not true. Yeah. So factual happenings, and then the layer of where there's no fact, then it's actually what was thought or felt. Which isn't always so clear cut, is it? Sometimes even I don't know what I'm feeling. Because I'm not attentive enough, or it's there's just too much, and so I'm not able to sift through it. So first and foremost, truth is not always so clear cut. So absolute truth. What is absolute truth? So that we can put it aside, because we hardly ever live with absolute truth.
Universal law.
Universal laws. Oh, even higher than universal laws. I am Brahman, correct. Trikala tishtati itti sat is the definition given of sat, which means it never changes. What is true? It never changes. So absolutely anything that changes isn't true. But now that we're going to put that aside, because there's only one thing that never changes, in the relative sense, also it doesn't change because facts don't change. Or things that are like in science, they call it repeatability, which means if I do the same equation, the next time I'll get the same result. So then that's on the relative level, that becomes a truth also. It's not absolute truth, and it's not that it never ever changes, but it's got a lot of reliability for repeatability, which is our universal laws. So universal laws aren't absolute. They just one notch down from absolute. Why? Because Bhagwan can do whatever he wants and change whatever he wants whenever he wants. He most often won't, but can. And so he can change the laws also. Most often won't. 99.9% he won't. There'll be that odd percent that Bhakti Yoga holds on to, where he does. So, universal laws. And then, in this relative world, we see that as true. Gravity is true. It rained is true. People are selfish is true. In a relative sense. So now it comes to understanding what it is and then understanding how to practice it. So tapas is to live truth. We can only live it if we know what it is. And so the first thing is satyam vada. This comes in Taitra Upanishad, but well known, right? Everybody's heard of this. If you're somewhat familiar with Sanskrit, you would have heard of this. Satyam vada means speak truth. And so in Taittiriya Upanishad, students are going home from Gurukul, and this is the parting message from Guru. It's not the only one, it's long. Parting message from Guru is very long, but it's Satyam vada dharmam chara. Is the first thing that Guru says to the students as they are leaving the Gurukul to go and live their lives. So today it would be that, that graduation speech when they're leaving university, which some of them are so famous, right? People watch it because this is your advice now of how to go live your life. What did the Rishis thing was? Rishis tell us is the advice of how to go live your life? Satyam vada. This is not as easy as you would think. Number one, every time we say something on, I think means, I don't know, I'm guessing. It's not Satyam. Wow, that reduces conversation. Because so much of our conversation is, I think. Yeah.
Would it not be true? Because you said before that what I thought.
So something like, did so-and-so pick up this parcel? I think she did. Rather than I think, yeah, I don't know. Or I will check. We do a lot of what we think is based on assumption. And it's how we function. It's default setting of the mind that we just fill in the blanks.
You don't want to be too absolute also, because then you're closed-minded.
Means
So say we're having a
conversation.
Yeah, and then someone asks me what to do, but I want to keep it open for discussion.
So what to do, and I think we should do this is different too, assuming this is what somebody has done or why they've done it. Like let's say somebody says, why does Trump want Greenland? And then somebody has one full theory. So many people, right? Like we'll all have a theory of why he wants Greenland.
It doesn't even have to be, I think, it could be because of this, I'm here, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, so there's a difference between saying I think and talking about it as though it's already happened. So did so-and-so pick up the parcel? Yeah, I think they did. Is different too. I think he's plotting for Greenland because he wants da. Can you see the difference? Yeah. So it's the first one that I'm saying not to do, where it's a verifiable fact and then we assume something and we go with it. Whereas I'm not saying you don't have, I think is a satya. Yeah, we can have our opinions and express our opinions, but we say, I think. And so people know it's an opinion. Whereas did she pick it up and we think, I think so. And then you think, so in the person who hears that as, yes. Like you didn't intend to deceive, but what did the person understand? Yes. And do you know for a fact that they picked it up? No. So it's asat. So, like wedding, and is this person single? I think they're with someone. I think they're looking. I think we say it like it's fact. Because sometimes people advertise, I'm looking. But otherwise, we kind of guessing, right? Yeah. So I'm not saying you shouldn't guess also. But it shouldn't be said like a fact. And then we add masala. Exactly. All the masala that we add is asat, which, that's why I said it's very hard to speak only sat. And if you really speak only sat, you wouldn't speak much at all. And then people might consider you boring. So you add masala. And it's not like I don't do it, because if you hear me tell the Krishna story, or if you hear me tell, lots of masala gets added. So then it's not sat. It should be very transparent. No deception. So if I say Krishna A was eating French fries, when you're thinking, no, he wasn't. And I'm just adding masala. There's no deception. Right? So it's not even saying you can't express your opinion. It's not saying you can't spice up a story. It's not, but there should be no deception. It's very hard. Satyam is excruciatingly difficult to practice. It's so much easier to have resilience and courage. Satyam is like, and why is Satyam so difficult to practice? Because remember, it's the ultimate goal. Brahman is Sat. Moksha is Sat. It is the ultimate. There's nothing higher than Sat. And so, of course, we already know this. The higher something is, the harder it's going to be able to attain it. And the more worthwhile it is to be able to attain it. Hanji.
You often say that in the world of business, there's a type of rules.
In the world of business, you're playing the rules.
That can require deception if you're a salesperson negotiating that. So,
Gurudev at different points in his life said different answers to your question. There's times when Gurudev has said, when you're playing the game, play by the rules of that game. Two businessmen who were already very ambitious. And then when he's talking to like a brahmachari or somebody who's maybe a scholar, he'll say, what you need so much money for? Bhagwan will provide what you need. Why you have to charm people and cheat? So I think masters see the person in front of them and then make sure they take the next step in the journey. That's also not deception, right? Like if I tell somebody, no, don't do what you're doing and you'll never get anywhere in life if you're doing that, then they're not even going to bother to take the next step. Whereas if I acknowledge, yes, in the world that there's lots of deception and you have to sell your product, and so you're advertising and everybody's advertising, so you go ahead and advertise. then at least they're still going to do their japa and their tapa, and they're still going to have bhakti and shraddha, and then maybe at some point they themselves will start feeling bad. And you can live in the world advertising. Like we've done this incredibly humongous Balviar campaign. And we asked ChatGPT how to advertise, and we asked this one how to advertise, and then we spoke to consultants, and we really invested money in it. So it's not even like we've done it half-heartedly. But at no point did we say something that's not true. So at no point did we stretch it. Balvihar will help your kids be with time management. Won't be written there. Because Balvihar won't help your kids have time management. So don't put it there. Balvihar will help your kids have confidence? Yes. And I can introduce you to many kids who will say that because they feel grounded by what they learned here, they are more happy to say, I am Hindu. Even just this week we had puja, and these 3 kids came back to the ashram, must be after 10 years. And they, each one of them said, these were some of the happiest moments of my childhood here in this Balvihar classes. Maybe it's not true for every single kid, but yes, it imbibes your childhood with belonging, culture, connection to divine. So if it's true, you can use that to advertise. They will become billionaires if they come to Balvihar? No, cannot say that. They will get awards in school if they come to Balvihar? Cannot say that, even though this year our Balvihar kids got awards for getting top marks in. But she said the whole thing. I should remember properly what it was. Some award about the kids in Hong Kong who get the best marks. 2 of them were our Balvihar kids. But that doesn't mean it's because of Balvihar. It's because they were smart. So I can't use that as part of my advertising. Gives you a sense of belonging, I can use as part of that. So what I'm trying to say is in the world of business, you need to market, but you can still do it in a truthful way. And then you're not selling the thing that's the most marketable. Well, whoever wants will buy it. So, is it okay? You decide. I guess each person has to decide what's their priority. Material success, spiritual growth. And then there's always going to be an offset, right? That's with anything. You want a work-life balance, or you want to be multi-million. Even then, you're choosing. It's not that you're only choosing between spiritual and material. Even within the material, you're choosing which one you're going to invest in terms of your time and your energy. Okay, coming back to Sat. So first layer of Sat is speak truthfully. And just speaking truthfully, as you have seen, is wow, a lot. But the biggest guideline on speak truthfully is zero deception. There should be zero deception. And then guideline also given in scriptures, if you don't know what to say in a nice way, don't say anything. Silence is far more powerful and not only powerful, beneficial to your spiritual well-being than saying the wrong thing. So if in doubt, don't talk. Which for some people is so hard. Second level of truth is once you say something, you have to make sure you actually do it. Keeping your word. keeping promise. This is what we talked about in Ramayana, Dashrath Maharaj. Remember, Dashrath Maharaj gave a boon. Ramchandraji went to the forest because Dashrath Maharaj gave a boon. Why? Because if it was said, and if you don't do what was said, then what you said in the past, now in the present, becomes an untruth. And so the second layer of truth is creating truth. So it was said in the past, and you make sure it becomes the truth. And so it's the creating of truth, which is so beautiful, no? You are creating. And then this is also quite tricky because it requires us to be incredibly alert about what we're saying and then remember it so that we can do it. Sometimes we so well intended, meaning we totally, completely intend to do it. And then we just forget. It's not that we want to be untruthful or not even that we wanted to forget that person and then so gone. I remember, so I don't know what his name was, but from the Tata group, right? The Birla Tata group. And I think it was like 2 generations already gone. So not the current person's father, but grandfather. He'd walk around with a little notebook in his pocket. And if he met someone at some party or at some meeting, and then he said, oh, yeah, I'll send that to you. He'd take out his notebook and write. And then at the end of the week, he'd make sure he finished whatever he had, which is like phenomenal. And today we have our phone. And I know one person like this. Most of you all in this room know this person. She'll actually, the minute she says something to you, she'll write it down. Even though it will be faltu, like I'll send you pancakes. I'll send you that recipe. I'll send you that phone number for that person's contact. I'll say, it'll just be all this networking resourcefulness stuff. But she'll write it down. And then she'll actually do it. And such a, we automatically respect the person. Like you yourself, you're casually talking to someone and they say, yeah, I'll send it. And then you forgot, you think they also might have forgotten. And then you actually get it and you think, oh, they remembered. One, you feel touched that they remembered you. But 2, you think, wow, efficient. So to make it come true, to make our words come true, which also means be very careful what you say. There's been times as a teacher where I've threatened some punishment, and then in my head I'm thinking, please don't misbehave. I really don't want to see that through. Just spontaneously sometimes. Because if they do it, then you have to see it through. So first and foremost, remembering what you say, and 2, being careful about it. Because you have to then do it. Sat is, so Sat, really, I'm telling you, just Sat is a full-time job. If you choose this sadhana to do, there's just enough to do. And there's enough to reflect on to keep doing. Yeah. Every now and then it's good to do just for a short period of time. So for this week, you'll already know what's homework, right? All 3 levels of Sat. We've only done 2. What's the 3rd level? Take a deep breath. If you think something is valuable to do, you have to do it. So somebody living Sat never says the word, I know I should. Somebody living Sat would just be doing whatever they think they should be doing. I know, I recognize those deep breaths. Because we know, right? That we know so many of the silly things we do. I should do more japa. I should wake up early. I shouldn't be eating this. I shouldn't say these things. I should. So we do it all the time. Our list of should is ridiculous. And the word should itself is, interestingly, very weakening. Why? Because the minute we say it, it's proof of asat. And sat is strength, and asat is like, and that's just so incredibly profound about this word. Of course, it's weakening because it's like it's you just telling yourself you're not living up to all the things you value. And then it's hard to live up to all the things we value. But are we even making an attempt? Sometimes. And sometimes no. Like sometimes I walk into the kids' rooms and they'll say, I know it should be cleaner. And there's like there's zero effort for that room to be clean. It's a pigsty. And I have no idea how they live in it. Like I'm cringing just standing in there. Like, this is when we would take them to India for those week-long camps. It's not even their bedroom at home. This is like they've only had 4 days at camp. How did you get it this dirty? Yeah. And then there's other times when there is the effort being made, but maybe to varying degrees. So sat is some effort to be doing what we know to be valuable, what we ourselves have valued. So. And then we go back to Saurajadira, just that consistency of doing. That's why all the values help and lend to each other. So those are the 3 levels. Okay, so it's the level of speech is the first 2. Yeah. And then naturally to then do what we are saying, but not only to do what we are saying, but to do what we are thinking to be valuable. So first is speech, second is action, and then action, speech, and thought all integrated. Now, to be integrated is spiritual living. So, we can make a nice chart. What is spiritual living? Number 1, cheerfulness. Huh? Where did that come from? That's number 1. Actually, no. Awareness would be number 1. But Gurudev gave cheerfulness quite a high. And so, what is spiritual living? Living in awareness. Number 2, cheerfulness. Number 3, integrate. Means my hands are doing what my mind is thinking about, and my speech is talking about what I am doing and thinking, which doesn't always happen. Sometimes there's so much conflict within ourselves only. Like we're doing what we've been told to do, but we're thinking about something else. Or we doing what we shouldn't be doing and we're thinking about what we should be doing. That's just within us. Huh? That's not even anyone outside telling us anything. So Sat is when everything's aligned beautifully within ourselves. We are whole. There's no inner conflict. There's no bumps. There's no holes. We are beautifully aligned. Sat. And we've all had moments in our life like that. Where we've been true to our convictions and we're living it. So, now to do all of this with Shilata. Shilata is that sweetness. And so, practicing Sat in itself is such a big job. But now to do it with Shilata means do it with love in our heart. Essential. That's it. It's the easiest. I mean, we don't have to overthink being sweet. We just have to have intention of love in our heart. And then more often than not, it comes out well. So I think I've given this example. The sound system is perpetually something happens to it or the other. And so we had called in this technician to handle our sound system. And then he looked at all the stuff we have, which is quite a bit, because I'm so soft, and then, we need to make me louder. So much equipment we got. And this was a while ago. And his English wasn't the best, and my Chinese is non-existent. So English it was. So I said, should we change the mic? And he said, mic, very good. Okay, great. Mic's very good. And then, all these, what about this? And then he's like, this very good. And then, so there's two parts. Don't ask me the names. The one with all the buttons on it and the one that's below. So then I point to the below one. Do we have to change this? Very good. So I was like, oh. So he can now read my face, like, all of it's very good. And then he looks at me and he says, you, no good. Now that could be incredibly insulting, correct? But I just already mentioned his English wasn't good, right? Like he's working here on minuscule understanding of English. So I'm looking at him thinking, what does that mean? What does me no good mean? And I'm like, my voice is very soft? No. Then he's pointing and saying, you do this. And then he puts the mic near me and my voice was so loud. And I was like, oh, I don't know how to work the system. Good means you are ignorant of how to work this equipment. And the equipment is fabulous. Yeah. Which still could be insulting. But he's just here to help me, and he could have charged me and replaced everything that was in perfect order. But you see intent, right? Like he could totally have ripped me off. And so when we have love in our hearts, I'm not saying it's going to always work. Maybe on another day I would have been upset that he said, I'm not good. But more often than not, if people can see your intention is not to hurt, they'll try and see what you actually mean by it. And then also, everyone's going to jump to their own conclusions as per their level of understanding and willingness to listen. And we can only do our best. There's going to be times when something has to be said, and it has to be said. We make sure we have love in our hearts and we say it. And then, yes, they may get hurt. But at least if there's intention not to hurt, there's some hope of them actually listening. Otherwise, they won't. So Shilata comes very much in the intention in our heart, and then us using the correct word, but far more importantly, the correct tone. And, you know, something like, oh, I forgot it. Is it something like 60% of our communication is nonverbal? Even more? And so when the intention in my heart is good, and it's all those nonverbal cues of my posture and my expression and that's going to be Shita. Maybe the actual words aren't so sweet, but at least all the nonverbal cues are sweet. Yeah. And then we can only do the best we can. So intention. And then in terms of how we act also, like that, going back to that example of that person who remembered to send you the contact number. They might not have been the most charming person, and the exchange might have been a little awkward or hurried, but when you follow through like that, it's because intention is to, then that's Shita. So in no way is Shita saying be this extraordinary charming person. It's saying be well in being good in our intention. However, having said that, absolutely every skill can be learned. And so saying things in a nicer way is a skill that can be learned. And how to learn it? By watching how other people do it. And then maybe we don't interact with so many people, but we watch movies. And you watching how people are talking all the time, whether we're engaging in the conversation or we're not engaging in the conversation. And then so much of it goes without us being attentive. And so part of this week's homework is to be attentive to see how you can say things better by being more observant by how other people say things. And we'll learn so much just by being attentive to it. Because they're actually already doing it and we're just not noticing it. And so we are not then copying it. But the minute we are attentive to it, we'll be able to do it. So I remember when I joined ashram, I clueless on what it meant to really having a guru. Just treated Swamiji like another person. Probably one of the most disrespectful people he's ever had to deal with. But of course, that wasn't the intention. It's just unexposed. And then, in some ways, probably refreshing for him. So to have this person who just treats you like you. Maybe in some ways not so pleasant. But every time somebody else did something, I would think, oh, that's how we show respect. That's more culture. Okay. Then you imitate. And then you imitate. So I remember, so if Guruji is standing or Swamiji is standing, then you don't sit. You should also be standing. It's not like you sitting and then they are sitting. It's not going to matter. So now, of course, after many, many years, all these small little rules I've learned. So we were in somebody's house and Guruji was, after dinner, he would walk up and down the room, just a few steps, all of us trying to get our steps done. So I was also standing against the wall, making sure I'm not in the way. There was somebody else also familiar with the tradition, also standing next to me against the wall and making sure we're not in his way. And the one person not familiar with the tradition was sitting on the sofa. And while, talking to Guruji. And in fact, the two of them were engaged in the conversation, and me and this other person who was standing, we were quiet. The two of them were talking. And then finally she looks at me and she said, Swamini, you also sit, no? And I'm like, I'm okay. And then she's looking at me and she's looking at the other person and she's like, should I not be sitting? And then she looks at Guruji and she says, I respect you. I promise you, I respect you. And I think I remember the incident so clearly because there were so many times I've done something similar. Whereas just oblivious that, it's not part of the tradition. You behave in a different way when you are with a master. And you learn because somebody else does, and then you think, oh. And that's true for everything. Somebody else says something in a way that's so sweet, and you notice. Somebody else uses a particular word, which wouldn't be the word you use. You think, oh. And so, if we're attentive, we'll just keep learning. And if there is intention to have that quality, right? So if I'm not intending to be sweeter, I just won't notice it. But I want to be sweeter as a person, then I will notice it. And then slowly start emulating it also. So Satyam and Shita are these flags that are on the quality of the chariot of success. And Satyam, because, why is it the flag? It's because, as I've already mentioned it, it's the ultimate goal. So what's the flag? Flag represents one I said who's in the chariot. But otherwise, flag represents victory. And I think even in the Olympics, when whoever wins, that flag gets put up. Okay. And so in battle, of course, also whoever wins, their flag gets put up. And so here also the indication is that our victory is when we are able to live Satyam. It should be our insignia. It should be who we are. Should is a terrible word. It is who we are. We don't realize that truth is who we are, but it is who we are. It is our insignia. And yet we are busy, deluded by Maya, and get lost in all of the relativities. But it's a reminder that this is the truth. And it's also a reminder that the more we live that truth of who we truly are, that is our victory. So there's a siddhi linked with this. There's many siddhis are linked in with our speech. So firstly, what is siddhi? Siddhi is a power. So when we train the mind in a certain way, we can harness cosmic forces and then be able to utilize them as per our will. That's siddhis. Okay? And so the easiest example is levitating. So I haven't tried, but apparently it's the easiest siddhi to get. You're welcome to try. So you may not be able to levitate very high, but most people who have consciously tried to levitate can levitate at least that much. I know you're all looking very shocked, but it's something even you can do. It's it's the easiest. So what are you doing when you're levitating? You're harnessing the power of gravity and being able to bend it. That's what siddhis are. You can harness different forces and then be able to utilize them in the way that you want them to work. So now a lot of siddhis are gained through speech. So the first way for these siddhis gained through speech is japa. Because japa is verbal, spoken. Right? Well, even if it's in our mind, it's still speech. And then depending on which japa you do, you can harness that whatever deity you're invoking through that mantra. But the other thing is, if you always speak the truth, which is what happens with great Mahatmas. And so if you've done this for long enough, then what happens is, when they say something, the siddhi is, it will come true. And that's why with great masters, it's like, if they've said it, then it's considered a blessing because now it will come true. So people would go to them, you know, please bless me with child. And if they said, have a boy, then they'll think, so now it will come true because they have that siddhi, that they've adhered to speaking the truth and living the truth and doing the truth. So many years that now they've been able to command the forces to be able to make what they say come true. So Gurudev had this. Gurudev's tapas had been so incredible. And when Gurudev said something, it would come true. And in fact, so much of what he said has come true after his samadhi. And even that he said. He had said we will see the fullness of his work after his samadhi. And so one of his names is Satya Sankalpaya Namaha. Means if he even thought it, Sankalpa is thought, it would come true. He had harnessed one of those. That was the siddhi he had harnessed from adhering to. So you can't get that siddhi unless you consistently lived the truth, spoken the truth. And remember all three levels. Speak the truth means factually. If I say it, do it. And if I think it, do it. He did so much tapas, really. Gurudev's tapasya charya was phenomenal. So we pause here for today. Any questions?
The very you mentioned the spiritual life is first is awareness, and then the second is
Cheerfulness.
cheer.
Yeah. Integrated.
So what if like someone doing a job is a butcher? You know what he's doing. He's doing
Somebody as a butcher might not think killing or chopping the meat is a bad thing, then it's fine. If they have inner conflict about it, big problem.
is he living in spiritual life? Witness.
If he's got no conflict about it, yes, he's living a spiritual life. You know, we used to have a Christian priest come regularly to the ashram. And he used to always make fun of me. Then we should go out and I'll have a juicy steak. I'll give you the peas. You can have it. Don't take it in the wrong way. Their tradition, they eat meat. And so he had zero conflict about it. And that's fine. That's their tradition. Gurudev used to say, like, when they lived in these really cold countries like Russia, nothing grows there. What they gonna eat? They have to eat meat only. So it never fazed me that he would say such things. In fact, I knew very well he was trying to get a reaction out of me. And actually it's fine. I mean, you were sitting on the airplane, you can't make the person next to you eat veg. They're gonna eat whatever they're eating, right? I should eat what I need to eat. Why should I be worried about who else is eating? So yeah, he was totally integrated. It's my opinion that vegetarian is better. Can you be spiritual eating meat? Sure. Can you be a butcher eating meat? Sure. Murderer? No, no, no. Thief? No, 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 no.
I feel like we live in a time where truth is almost gone.
Truth
You
is
look
gone.
at the news, you look at politicians now, you look at social media. It's like none of it's really true.
Yeah,
So much-
truth is definitely becoming harder to hold on
It's
to.
what someone wants you to believe.
Yeah.
They make it seem like a truth, and then it's up to each person what they want to believe.
Yeah.
It feels like nothing's right and nothing,
Yeah.
like there's no absolute anymore.
There's love. Love will always be enough. A refuge. But yeah, it's hard to know. In a relative world, it's hard to know what's absolute truth. Which is why for absolute truth, you have to close eyes. Withdraw from world. The absolute truth, you cannot have to meditate. The world has to stop existing. Then you can come back into the world, but to find it, you have to close eyes. Close eyes, close ears, close, nose, tongue, touch, close. Anything coming from outside is not going to help you find absolute truth. Which is why the meditation's highest vocation. But today, even that, they've made meditation one fashion and one feel good with sounds of birds chirping. Meditation is Sat Asat. Does it change? Asat. And maybe we can't live that 24 hours a day. But we can for 5, 10 minutes, 20 minutes in meditation. Please create some anchor to it within the depth of our being. But yes, in the relative sense, it's very hard to find truth. Did you have a question?
Hari Om Swamini, yes, I did. I think you may have answered it already, but I just wanted to check with you, like the third layer of truth, where you said that if there is something that you hold valuable that you want to do it, and if there is a gap and you say I should do it, and that is asat. And I was just wondering because I have so much on my list
Yeah, all
of
of us.
wanting to give up and get up in
Yeah,
Brahma Muhurat and whatever. And it was a little disempowering, but then again, I remembered that we are doing the Dharm Rath. So we still have Shaurya and Dheeraj. So am I looking at it the correct way is what I wanted to ask you.
So I'm aware that I'm not living up to my convictions. and intention and ability to the extent that I can to be able to live up to it. And then to, yes, consistently work towards that. Yes.
Thank you.
Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukhabhag Bhave Asato Ma Satkamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurmamritam Gamaya Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Hari Om